Welcome to our Sutta class in English. And this is our 15th session, 15th Sutta. And I am happy to welcome everybody in this New Year's Eve. We will begin in a minute. Our teacher, as always, is Most Venerable Buluwala Ratana Siritero from Millala
Welcome to
our Sutta class in English. And this is our 15th session, 15th Sutta. And I am happy. Apologies on that. The YouTube live stream just went over. As I was saying, I warmly welcome our esteemed teacher, Buluwala Ratana Siritero, to start our 15th Sutta class. Over to you, Reverend Sir.
Screen.
We can see you and we can hear you clearly. Can you see the shared screen, Reverend Sir?
Yes, I can speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can. Let's start our Sutta lesson today. The Sutta for today, I have selected the Tanki Sutta because one of our listeners had requested this Sutta. Therefore, I selected Tanki Sutta for today. Tanki Sutta is in Majjhima Nikaya, in Brahmana Vagga. The commentary for Majjhima Nikaya is Papanta Sudani. This sutta was preached by the Buddha when he was doing his missionary tasks in the Kosala state. It was ruled by King Pasenadi. Our Buddha started his missionary tasks in the Kosala state. He came to the Brahmin village called Opasada. There was a divine Sala occurred. Buddha and Mahasangha stayed there during the time of their missionary tasks. In Opasada village, there was a Brahmin called Tanki. Tanki was the wealthy Brahmin because many properties, estates and other properties were offered by King Pasenadi. King Pasenadi had gifted him properties. So Tanki Brahmin was a wealthy Brahmin, and he lived as the representative of King Pasenadi Kosala. He had dignity of royalty. So other Brahmins honored him and recognized or regarded him as their leader. Kanki, the Brahmin, he lived as the representative of the king. When Buddha was preaching Dhamma in that Opasada village, many Brahmins, they went to the Sala church to listen to the Dhamma. They went in groups. They get together and they went to the Sala church to listen to the Dhamma. One day when Kanki, he went to his second floor to have some rest in midday. He saw a group of Brahmins going to the towards Sala church. Kanki, the Brahmin, asked the chief minister. He called in the chief minister of the state, and Kanki Brahmin asked, where are those Brahmins were going? Then the chief minister replied, the Buddha has come to the Sala church, staying there, he is preaching Dhamma. His Dhamma is very clear. He preaches Dhamma, including Adi Kalyana, Madhya Kalyana, Pariyosana Kalyana. That is starting and middle of the speech and the end. These three stages are interconnected. Everyone can understand easily. He explained the facts, the Dhamma facts clearly, and he is bearing special 9 qualities: Araham, Samma Sambuddha, Vidya Karana Sampanna, Sugata Loka Vidu, Anuttara Purusha Dhamma Sarati, Satta, Buddha Bhagava. In that way, that the chief minister explained about the Buddha. At that time, the Buddha was popular among the Brahmins in Opasada village. So the Brahmins, they went in group to hear Dhamma. Then after listening to chief minister, Brahmin Kanki wanted to visit the Buddha. He took interest to visit the Buddha and to listen to his Dhamma. Then Kanki said to the chief minister, you go and tell the Brahmins in this village, Opasada, that Brahmin Kanki will visit the Buddha. So the minister went there and he told the Brahmins who had come from Opasada village the arrival of Brahmin Chanki. At that time, there were other 500 Brahmins, well educated 500 Brahmins. They had come to that place for other purpose. They heard this news. These 500 Brahmins, they heard this news. They discussed if Chanki, the Brahmin Chanki, visit the Buddha, it is not good for our dignity. It is not good for our Brahmin authority. The Buddha must visit Chanki Brahmin, not the Chanki Brahmin will not visit the Buddha. That's what they discussed. They decided it is not reasonable to visit Brahmin Chanki, the Buddha. Buddha is to visit Chanki Brahmin. That's how they thought. So they discussed and they came to meet Brahmin Chanki. These 500 Brahmins, they came to meet Brahmin Chanki and they discussed about the visiting of the Buddha. The 500 Brahmins explained about Brahmin Chanki. Now you are descendants of the Brahmin traditions. Up to the 7 traditions, your mother, your father, they were Brahmins. And you are wealthy Brahmin. And you transcended Triveda. And you you have learned grammar, linguistic languages. You are very intelligent, and you speak clearly, and you are a teacher, you are a master. And there are so many students under you, Brahmin students under you. In that way, they presented, they argued that Chanki Brahmin not to visit the Buddha. The Buddha must visit Chanki Brahmin. That's what they explained. After listening to them, Chanki, the Brahmin, he told them, he explained or he described about the validity of the Buddha. He evaluated the Buddha. He is a Kshatriya, and his father, mother, and forefathers, they are pure Kshatriyans, and he renunciated and he realized Buddhahood. He became Buddha and he has so many disciples. King Kosala, Pasenadi Kosala, he became the Upasaka or the follower of the Buddha. King Bimbisara was the follower of the Buddha, and Brahmin Bharadwaja, Okkarasati, the popular Brahmins, they have become upasakas, so the followers with their children. In that way, they explained about the Tanki Brahmin, explained about Buddha, and he presented his views how far it is reasonable to visit Tanki, the Brahmin, the Buddha. At last, they agreed to meet the Buddha. 500 Brahmins and Brahmin Tanki, they all went to that Sala church to listen to the Buddha. So they went to that Sala church and they had conversation with the Buddha. The Buddha had friendly conversation with the all Brahmins like Bharadwaja, Kanki, and there were so many old Brahmins. Buddha had friendly conversations with them. While the Buddha was having conversation with the old Brahmins, there was a young Brahmin called Karpatika. Karpatika was a very young Brahmin, educated Brahmin. He was very intelligent and he transcended Triveda and he learned grammar, linguistic, languages. He was a well-educated young Brahmin at that time. He was at the age of 16 with 7 head. That Karpatika, he was talking to the old Brahmins when the Buddha was conversing with them. He disturbed that conversation. Once in a way, Karpatika disturbed the Buddha. When Buddha conversed with the old Brahmins, Karpatika also began to talk with them. He disturbed the conversation. So Buddha told Brahmin Bharadwaja, I must condemn or avoid those who disturb the conversation. So Buddha did not converse with Kapatika, with that young Brahmin. But that young Brahmin was a leader of the group. The other Brahmins, they were under him because he was very intelligent. Then the Buddha said to Bharadwaja, when person disturbs the others' conversations, he must be avoided. But Brahmin Bharadwaja said, Karpatika, this young Brahmin, is very intelligent. He has transcended Triveda and he knows languages, grammar, linguistics, and he can define the facts of Triveda. In that way, the Brahmin, Bharadwaja, describes about Karpatika. The Buddha, at last, Bharadwaja said, this Karpatika, this young Brahmin, is suitable to have questions, or he is capable enough to argue with the Buddha. He is capable enough to have a debate with the Buddha. That's what Brahmin Bharadwaja told the Buddha. Then Buddha did not say anything at that time. Brahmin Karpatika taught, if the Buddha would keep his eye contact on me, I would start my questionings. That's what that Karpatika thought. He thought, if the Buddha paid attention towards him, he would start his debating or the questioning or discussions. That's what he thought. Then Buddha could read his mind at that time. Buddha identified his mind, and Buddha kept eye contact with Karpatika Brahmin. Then Karpatika thought the Buddha was gazing at me. He is keeping his eye contact with me. So this is the time to start my questionings. So he began to start his questioning. Karpatika, he told the Buddha, there are Brahmins they knows these lines of Veda, Triveda, and hymns of Triveda, and they think that those hymns and lines and stanzas in Triveda are true, but others are false. Other Dhamma are false. The doctrine in Triveda is true. That is that Karpatika told the Buddha. Karpatika told the Buddha, in short, doctrine in Veda is true. Other doctrines are false. Every Brahmins thinks in that way. Karpatika told the Buddha. Then Buddha asked the old Brahmin, Bharadwaja. Buddha asked Brahmin Bharadwaja, not Karpatika, is there any Brahmin among you who can tell any hymns or any lines or stanza that is told by the Irishis? What Irishi or what composer has told these lines, has composed these lines, or who has preached these lines? Can any Brahmin, is there any Brahmins among you who can tell this? Then Brahmin Bharadwaja told the Buddha, no, there was no anyone to tell. No any Brahmin, they can tell about this. Then the Buddha asked, when you think of your Brahmin traditions, your teachers and your masters, among your teachers, among your masters, in your traditions, is there anyone to tell about these hymns and lines, the origin of these hymns and lines, origin of Triveda, the origin of the doctrine of Triveda? Can anyone tell this? Then the Brahmin Bharadwaja said no. There was no anyone. Then Buddha asked, anyone can tell what Irishi or the students of the Irishis can students of the Irishis or the Irishis, they have told this line, they have told this hymns, they have taught this lines, stanzas in this tone. they have formed these lines, hymns in this stone. Or can anyone recite as the Ulysses recited this hymns or lines of uh, any doctrines in Veda? Then the Bharadwaja, the Brahmin Bharadwaja, told, no, there is no anyone. In that way, the Buddha asked about their knowledge, about their faith. Buddha asked. Then Buddha explained them, when we think of the tradition of this Brahmin, when we think of these revelations of the Vedic traditions, all are blind because you don't know who tells, who teach this doctrine. Only you by heart, you recite, but you don't know who formed this, who told this, what is the origin of these doctrines, you don't know. Only you have faith. In that way, the Buddha explained them, you are blind in the sense, when you think of your traditions, you are blind. When you think of the your near teachers and the middle teachers and the first teachers, all are blind because they don't know. They don't know who preached these Vedas, who formed these Vedas. They don't know the origin of the Vedas. Only thing that they listen to their teacher, they hear what their teacher says and they by heart it. They keep them in their minds. Then the Buddha explained them. There are fivefold of karma. There are fivefold of karma which bear two kinds of result in this life. These five kinds of karma is Saddha, faith, Saddha, Ruchi, desire, Ruchi, and Anusava, that is listening to dogmatic news. Anusava, listening to dogmatic views. And Akara Parivitakka, understanding the meaning of the doctrine. Akara Parivitakka. Fifth one is Ditta Nidhana Kanti, That is the ultimate goal that we achieve. The Buddha explained then, when the person develop this fivefold of karma towards Veda, they don't have any result. That karma is, if they engage in this fivefold of karma, they won't get results. They are called avyakata. Now in Abhidhamma, there is wholesome, unwholesome, and functional avyakata. No result there. In that way, if the person develop this karma, engage this fivefold of karma towards Vedic scriptures, they won't get any result. The Buddha explained, because they developed their saddha, that is amulika saddha, that is the false one, misunderstand. They only listen and they misunderstand. So they developed their faith saddha towards Vedic scriptures, but they are false, misunderstand. Amulika saddha. Then ruchi, desire, they create desire in their mind to practice doctrine in Veda. So they developed ruchi or happiness to perform sacrifices, only rituals. They engage in rituals. They offer some food to fire, and they perform various kinds of rituals that won't get any result. Then Anusava, so they listened to the Vedas and their teachers, and only they by heart those Vedas, and they can't develop their morality. They can't develop their virtue. They can't develop their concentrations. In that way, the Buddha explained, while listening to the dogmatic views, people won't get any results. So listening to dogmatic views, he can't develop his spirituality. He can't develop his morality, sila, and he can't develop his concentrations. So there is no any result. Then akara parivitakka, understanding the meaning of the lines of the Vedas, understanding the stanzas and hymns. So if they tried and if they tried to understand those lines, the meaning of the hymns, they can't understand the because there are false views. They understand the false views. They are misguided in that way. And Ditta Nidhana Kanti, that is the ultimate goal. So, developing those five karma or engaging in five karma towards the Vedas. Ditta Nidhana Katti means they can't, there is no goal. Only thing that they are to associate or they are to mix with Mahabrahma. There is no goal. In that way, the Buddha explains their practices, the uselessness of their practices and their performance. And they can't achieve the ultimate goal. So they are misguided. In that way, the Buddha explained. Then Brahmin, Bharadwaja, they asked, can you show us the way towards the truth then? How to achieve the truth? They asked from the Buddha. Brahmin Bharadwaja, he asked, can you show us the way towards the truth? Then the Buddha explained them. If you perform these five tasks, Saddha, Ruti, Anusava, and Akara Parivitakka, Ditta Nidhana Katti, if you engage in this fivefold of karma towards the doctrine of the Buddha, then you can have results and you can achieve to the truth. Then Buddha explained them how to achieve the truth. The Buddha told them, explained them how to select the doctrine to listen first, Anusava. How to practice Anusava correctly. To practice the karma Anusava, you have to select the correct doctrine. Then the Buddha explained how to select the correct doctrine or the Dhamma. The Buddha took the example, suppose uh, one bhikkhu, he is living in a village. He is preaching Dhamma, delivering Dhamma. Listeners like you, they visit him and they listen to his Dhamma. While listening to his Dhamma, the listeners must think whether the speaker is preaching Dhamma with or without greed, with or without anger, with or without delusions. You have to consider while you listening to his doctrine, his Dhamma. You can understand if the speaker has greed in his mind, if the speaker is preaching his doctrine with greed in his consciousness, he can't preach such a pleasant Dhamma in this way. If there is anger in his mind, if there is greed in his mind, if there is delusion in his mind, he can't preach such a pleasant Dhamma doctrine. He can't use such pleasant words. He can't speak in this calm and quiet way. He can't speak in this tone. Like that, you have to consider. So if he speaks or preach, if the preacher preaches his Dhamma devoid of greed, devoid of delusions, devoid of anger, that is the suitable doctrines or Dhamma that you have to listen and understand. You have to develop your anusava. How you develop your anusava there. So you must pay your attention to the Dhamma first. You must pay your attention to the Dhamma. You must listen to Dhamma carefully. It's called the Sunata, Dhareta, Tarata Dhamma. You listen well. And you keep the facts in your mind. Then you behave as that facts. Anusava. And akara parivitakka, that is understanding the facts, doctrines. To understand the doctrines, Asevitaya, Bhavitaya, Bahulikataya. You have to associate the preacher. You must visit regularly the preacher and you have to discuss with him. You have to ask some questions to to settle your problems. In that way, you can understand the meaning of the doctrines. Akara parivitakka. So then you can develop your faith, the saddha. You can develop your saddha faith. That is not the amulika saddha, that is akarati saddha. So you developed your saddha or faith towards that doctrine, and you feel some desire to practice that doctrine. So take interest. You take interest to practice this Dhamma. Then you practice that Dhamma. That is, you practice in T-Siksha, Sila, Samadhi, Panna. You developed your morality. You listen to Dhamma. You associate the teacher. You ask questions. And you take desire to practice this Dhamma. Then you develop your morality. You abstain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying and intoxications, and 10-fold of unwholesome activities, rasa akusal. You abstain from them and you develop your morality. Then you try to develop your mind in wholesome consciousness, to have concentrations. So you developed your mind in concentrations, practicing meditation, bhavana. You engage in samatha bhavana. You practice them. You engage in those meditations, and you gradually you develop your mindfulness, and then you develop your concentrations. Then you try to elicit your mind in the light of tilakkana, anitya, dukkha, anatma. You elicit your mind by looking at or by investigating the phenomena in the light of tilakkana, anitya, dukkha, anatma. You try to understand the phenomenon, the nature of phenomena, impermanence. They are ever changing. Phenomena are ever changing. Impermanence. And because of that ever-changing, there arise unsatisfactory. You pay your attention to your own body or your own life, and you think how uh, they arise unsatisfactory because of impermanence. You can't keep your youth forever. You can't keep your strength of your body forever changing. When you consider about the five faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, what happens? They becomes weaker and weaker. So they are impermanence. Because of impermanence, there arise unsatisfactory. And we try to understand the non-soul, the nature of non-soul in phenomena. When you think of your life, your body, can you manipulate your body as you want? You can't. Many things happen to our life that we don't like. We don't hope, but it happens. Getting old, decaying, we don't like, but it happens. So, in that way, you try to understand non-soul. Our body, our life, we can't keep as we want because of non-soul. In that way, you have to develop your wisdom in the light of Tilakkhana concerning the all phenomena in the world. Then you can develop your insight and you can develop your panya or the wisdom, and there you can achieve to the truth. Then akara parivitakka, and then ditta nidhana kanti. That is ultimate goal you can achieve to your ultimate goal. In that way, the Buddha explained Brahmin Chankian, Brahmin Bharadwaja, and other Brahmins. They all were happy. They told the Buddha, we were very happy because you explained us how we have to, we are to be guided towards the truth. And then you showed the way toward the realization of the truth. And you showed the way to get into the truth. In that way, the Brahmin Bharadwaja, Brahmin Chanki, and other Brahmins, they were happy and they praised the Buddha and they appealed the Buddha. From today, we would like to be your followers. your upasakas. Please take into your consideration that we are your followers. In that way, they praised the Buddha, they understood the doctrine of the Buddha, and they were to follow the doctrine of the Buddha. That is the end of the Kanki Sutta. In this sutta, the Buddha explained the uselessness of the revelations of Vedic traditions. In Sanghara Sutta, the Buddha points out there are three categories of religious and philosophical teachers. One category is they develop their knowledge depending on the revelation of Vedic. It is one category. And there is another category of religious and philosophical teachers. They are metaphysics. They present metaphysical views, and the rationalist. They depend on reasons, logic, and they present their ideas, and they develop some extrasensory perceptions. The third category is there. They did not depend on the former doctrines or other doctrines. Without depending on the other doctrines, they preach new Dhamma, Ubbe Ananususesu Dhammesu. The Dhamma which is not preached by others. They preach new Dhamma through their experience, derived from the extrasensory perceptions, from the knowledge of that extrasensory perceptions. That's how they preach Dhamma. The Buddha said, I am in that category, but I am distinguished teacher. I comes that the third category, but I am distinguished from the Buddha esteemed. Now in this Kanki Sutta, Buddha wanted to point out the revelations of the tradition of Vedic doctrines, uselessness of them. That is only hearing, listening, and by hearting. There is no any development in morality, spirituality, or there is no achieving ultimate goal. In that way, the Buddha explained Kanki and other Brahmins about the uselessness of these revelations. Then the Buddha explained him his doctrine. It is to be practiced. It is to be understood by himself, by realizations by himself. It is to be practiced by himself. Then he can achieve to the ultimate goal, the truth. I think the time is up now. Let me stop my Sutta lesson with this. Thank you very much for listening to me. Blessing of the triple gems be showered upon you.
Much merit to you, Reverend Sir. If our Dhamma listeners have any questions, this is a good time. We have a few minutes, about 8 minutes, so you can unmute your microphone and speak, or send us the question in the chat box, or you can also send a question through our Google form, which you can scan here. Interestingly, there was a question that was sent to us through the Google form, and I think today's Sutta teaching more or less addressed that question, but let me read the question out aloud. So the question was, how do we attain supreme knowledge and do noble deeds? The question was sent to us by Akash Kumar, Mr. Akash Kumar. He's asking, how do we attain supreme knowledge and do noble deeds? I think today's Sutta gave us some clue, but is there anything else you would like to add to that, Reverend Sir?
Yes, now we have to think of in that way that I have explained in this sutta. When anyone preach Dhamma doctrine, we have to consider all those things. If there contains those three roots, those unwholesome roots in his Dhamma or doctrine, his preaching, his speech, whether they are contain those roots, greed, anger, and delusion. They are unwholesome roots. That is akusala, unwholesome. Now the Buddha preaches his Dhamma towards kusala, king kusala gavesi. And that's what the Buddha said. So you have to think of that in that way, and you have to decide those things on the basis of that three roots. If this speech, flavor, mix in these three roots, in that way we have to think, and we can select, and we must think about the preacher also, his attitude, his behavior, and his knowledge, and his spiritual development, and everything you have to consider. So after considering all those things, you decide, you aspect that doctrine, and you develop, you start faith, saddha. You start your saddha, you develop your saddha. So when you want to practice the Buddha's teachings, first of all, you must develop your saddha towards its 9 qualities. Arahang Samma Sambuddha Vidyatana Sampanna Sugata Loka Vidu. In that way, you develop your faith and saddha, that is Akaravati saddha. And then that is the starting point. Then you go step by step. You develop your morality, and you develop your concentrations, and you develop your wisdom.
Thank you, and much merit to your clarification and explanation, Reverend Sir. It is, if we have a couple of minutes, about 6 minutes more, if anybody else would like to raise a question. If not, I thank everybody who has joined with us in our Sutta lessons. And I wish you all, on the New Year's Eve, I wish you all a blessed and safe and happy 2020 from tomorrow, and we will be meeting again with our 16th Sutta class next week, Friday, same time. So much merit to all our Dhamma listeners for spending some time listening to Dhamma, and much merit to you, Reverend Sir, for blessing us and teaching us the Dhamma. So if there are no other questions, we can end the session.
Yes. If there are no questions, we can end the class.
Okay, we can hear crackers on this side. So it is time to end our 15th Sutta class. Once again, much merit to all our dear listeners. Do send us your Sutta requests on the Google form, or you can ask, or you can express or state your Sutta request during class time as well. So I am ending the session.